If you have ambitious goals, you need influence to bring them to life. This video will show you how to build the kind of influence that turns your ideas into real impact. Over the last 7 years of building my company, I've probably read High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard a dozen times, each time focusing on a different habit depending on what I need most. Today is part 5 of our 6-part series where I break down each of these habits and how I apply them as a founder. In this video, we're talking about habit number 5, develop influence. And if you want to follow along with the series, I've created a free 30-day habit accelerator with prompts to help you figure out where to start and what to focus on. It's linked in the description. According to Brendon, high performers aren't actually built different. They just practice specific habits, and they're habits anyone can learn. Today, we're breaking down 3 practices for developing influence. Brendon explains that influence is about shaping how people think and act. It's what gets them to believe in your ideas, to invest in you, or to take some kind of action. Influence is what transforms your idea into an actual movement that impacts the world around you. Brendon calls these influence actions the ultimate influence model, and he uses it to teach CEOs how to influence their employees, parents how to influence their children, and entrepreneurs to structure their sales and marketing presentations. The first practice for developing influence is to teach people how to think. This doesn't mean telling people what to think. It means helping them frame challenges, opportunities, and decisions in a way that creates clarity and action. Within this practice, he says there are 3 categories where you want to influence people's thinking. The first is how they think about themselves. The second is how they think about other people. And the third is how they think about the greater world, meaning how the world works and where it's going, what it needs, and how our decisions shape that future reality. Brendon shares a few phrases that you can use in your everyday interactions to practice this habit. The phrases include things like, "What do you think about X?" Or "What would happen if we tried Y?" Or "What should we be paying attention to here?" As leaders, the way we frame problems and questions shapes how our teams respond and think, and ultimately, what they do. Brendon asks us to think about, who is someone in your life you would like to influence more right now? And if you could help them think differently about a challenge they're facing, what would you tell them? The second practice is to challenge people to grow and contribute. This includes challenging people to grow in 3 areas. The first is their character and the way they embody universal values. The second is their connection and how they show up in relationships with others. And the third is their contributions, how they offer value to the world around them. High performers don't just support other people, they challenge them to reach higher levels of performance. Part of this is cheering on their good ideas and being excited about when they do a good job, and also publicly praising them. People grow most when they feel both challenged and championed. When I was first processing the idea that eventually became Perimeter, I had a specific mentor who challenged me to take the leap before I felt ready. His name is Shomit Ghose, and he was the instructor for a class I was the TA for about data-driven business models. After being evacuated from our first California wildfire, I sat down with him to share the need we had for better technology. In that moment, he challenged me to step into a role I did not feel qualified for, and to actually start the company I said we needed at the time. At the end of the video, I'll show how he leveraged all 3 aspects of the ultimate influence model to help me make the biggest decision of my life, and how you can do the same thing with the people in your lives. His belief in me pushed me to grow, and it taught me that my role as co-founder and CEO isn't just to support my team and the people around me. It's to challenge them to think bigger, act faster, and trust themselves to take the next step, even when we don't have all the answers. Here's a performance prompt for practice 2. Who's someone in your life that you want to challenge and champion? And if you could inspire them to reach for something bigger, what would you say? The last practice is to role model the way. High performers don't just think about being good people. They think about how their actions influence others every day. They're intentional about embodying the qualities that they want to see in their team and their family and their community. Influence doesn't come from telling people what to do. It comes from showing them what's possible and setting an example of the culture that they want to create. Here are a few prompts to start thinking like a role model. If I were going to approach my relationships and career as an even better role model, the first things I would start doing are, and if 10 years from now, the 5 closest people to you were to describe you as a role model, what would you hope they'd say? When I was a teacher's assistant to Shomit, he not only taught me how to think and challenged me to grow, he also role modeled the way, because he had done the exact things he was challenging me to do. By the time we met, he'd already built and scaled companies, invested in startups, and become an example of ethics in AI. Now, I realize not everyone has a showman in their lives to help them take the plunge, but I hope that in sharing the things he shared with me, you can start finding the role models you need in your corner, while also becoming the role model you want to be for others. Building influence is not about charisma. It's about challenging people to see what's possible, both in themselves and the world around them. And it's also about becoming an example of how to show up, especially in the face of problems or uncertainty. Now, I'd love to know which of these practices you're planning to try first. And if you want to keep building these habits alongside a group of us, grab the free 30-day habit accelerator linked below to help you build momentum and get clear on what matters most right now. And if this was helpful, hit subscribe and join me next week as we break down our final chapter and my personal favorite, Demonstrate Courage. Because none of these habits will help us achieve any of our goals if we aren't brave enough to get started in the first place. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next Thursday.